Hello everyone, and welcome to the 100th episode of Crafting with Cosplay Fabrics. My name is Indra, and today I want to do a little bit of like a mini retrospective, and I thought it would also be fun to recreate the very first episode. Crafting with Cosplay Fabrics is something that we started about 3 years ago. It was something that I started filming out of my garage, and it's something that sort of evolved with time. It was meant to be something to go with Cosplay Fabrics and to sort of let people know how to better use the Yayahan collections, be it the trims, the fabrics, the foams, and as time went on, so did all of these materials like change. And so you've seen a lot of evolutions and things happening with this channel. So thank you so much for all of your amazing feedback and for, I guess, keeping up with all the stuff that we are doing and for letting us know what you have enjoyed or, you know, anything that you have wanted to see. So thank you all so much. It's kind of crazy that we are in the 100th episode. You know, I never thought that we'd be filming so many and how much has changed. You know, it started off with like such different backgrounds and materials, and also, you know, with totally different lighting and camera. So it has slowly evolved, and it's kind of nice to go back and see how everything was and where we're at now. You know, I work in an actual like craft room, and I have a very specific space where I try to film everything. And there's been lots of things that I have sort of tried to do, you know, be it talk to you or just be completely focused on the project. So of course we always want your feedback, and of course let me know whatever it is that you prefer. I try to keep these videos kind of short, but I felt like this was a great opportunity to kind of like look back and see like all the things that have changed. So thank you all so much, and I hope that you look forward to all of the awesome things that we have planned in the future, and maybe all of this will also change in another 100 episodes. I guess we'll see. So thank you for being here and for letting us share all of these crazy ideas and tutorials and things with you. We definitely hope that this has been something you have enjoyed. I definitely try to include my own projects because I think that I try to pick things that maybe you might want to learn something from, or trying to pick things that maybe someone who's new or someone might not know a technique, or maybe how I do it might give an idea to somebody else. So it's like always with the idea or hope that it will help you with either ideas or learning or anything like that. So again, thank you so much. So without further ado, let's get into recreating the very first episode of Crafting with Cosplay Fabrics. The very first episode that I recorded for Crafting with Cosplay Fabrics was about patterns. I have always felt that it's important to know some of the terminology, or if you're new or if you're self-taught, to kind of figure these things out. And so I wanted to use these two patterns for this tutorial, one being a stretch costume and one being a regular, because the instructions and stuff are a little bit different. So I'm gonna be using this uniform McCall's pattern and this Yayahan bodysuit McCall's pattern. So the first thing that we have to figure out before getting into the actual pattern itself is figuring out the pattern number that we'll need. And you're gonna see that in patterns there's like some numbers on the side, or it can even be like small, medium, large, and all of that. So to figure that out, we're going to need our measurements. So let's go take our measurements. The easiest way to get your pattern number is by getting the main three measurements that you will be needing, which is the bust, the waist, and the hips. So the way that you do that is you will need a measuring tape, and you can just take this around you. And for the bust, it'll always be, you want to take all these measurements at the largest point of where you are measuring. So for the bust, you take this, and then of course you take a deep breath. That way you have the largest measurement. And then the same thing for your waist, and you want this to be at your natural waist. Sometimes some people they think that that's where you wear your pants, and it's just like, if you're not sure, you can always go side to side, and in that fold, that's where your waist is going to be. And so that too. And then your hips, you want this to be at the largest point of your hips, and that might even be a little bit lower than where your actual hips might be, but again, you want the largest measurement. So, and of course you don't want to be wearing like a sweater and stuff, but you get the idea. So once you get these 3 measurements, then we're gonna go look at the chart, and that'll give us our number. So once you have those numbers, then we can go ahead and compare with the little chart that is on the back of the patterns. So it might look like this, where it's with numbers. So you see your bust, waist, hip, and those are the main ones that you need, and you want to always go for the largest number. So that will then tell you what your number is, your size. And so that number is what you want to use for your pattern. So you'll see at the front over here where it says size, and those are these numbers, and that is going to tell you what to get. Some patterns will look like this, where it's not a number, but it's small, medium, large, extra large, etc. But you still will need those measurements to figure out which one is for that pattern. So always go for the largest number, because it's so much easier to take in. And let me show you what this looks like on the inside. So the pattern has like its packaging, and then it comes with a set of instructions, and then it comes with the patterns all folded up. And as you can see, it comes printed, and what you want to do is remember that size that you got, and each pattern is going to have that number, see? And that is where you cut out the pattern. And you will find what pieces you're going to need right at the front here. Obviously, you're gonna want to read these instructions to figure out how to use it, if I'm assuming if you're watching this that you haven't. But this is just to give you like a rough idea of what it's like. So say for example you're looking to make A, you go down here, and these are the pattern pieces to make A. It might say costume A, so these are the numbers of each pattern. You'll see here each of them have numbers. See? And that's what you will need to cut. And just as you'll see, it'll give you some ideas of how to cut your fabrics, and then of course some sewing instructions as to how to assemble the entire costume. And sometimes it might come with several pages, and it might be printed on both sides. So that is the basics of like what's inside of a pattern, how it looks like, why that number is important. Okay, so there are some things that I want to show you about reading patterns that is also very important, and that is the back, that it tells you how much fabric you are going to need. So you might be using a costume like this one that is non-stretch, or one like this one that might tell you stretch fabrics. You're gonna see at the top all of the suggested fabrics, and that is pertaining to that particular project. Obviously, if you end up wanting to do something different or whatever, just get lots of extra fabrics so you can play around. But this is just like the basic of that. You're gonna see something like this that is going to give you the size, and it might tell you like A, B, C, and that is pertaining to the style. I think it's easier to see on this one. So for example, let's say you want to make this bodysuit. That is A. So you go over here where it says A, and then you pick your size, those numbers, that number that we had previously gotten. So let's say that you are a size 12 and you want to do A. So that A12 means that you're gonna need 1 3/8 of a yard for this project. And that is on a 60-inch bolt. In something like this one, you might see something like 45 or 60-inch bolt. So that is the size of the bolt where you see, like, you know, the cardboard where you see the fabric wrapped around. That is the bolt. If you're not sure the size of it, usually you can tell like on the side, like let's say this is the bolt and the fabric's wrapped around it, you can see like on the edge there's like a sticker on the bolt, and that is going to tell you the size, the care instructions for the fabric, and it's also going to tell you like exactly what type of fabric it is. That way if you are unsure, that'll give you all the information. So that is the size of the bolt, and that refers to this number that you see here, like either 60 or 45. That way you know how much you are depending on that size of bolt. Something like this might give you extra stuff that you might require, like lining, or for example notions. So it'll say down here like thread, buttons, all that stuff. Obviously it might be different depending on the costume that you're making, but that's generally just what that means. In patterns, you're going to also see a lot of asterisks, and that will lead you to this thing that says with nap, without nap, or with or without nap. So what that means is a little bit different for both types of costumes, but the TLDR is if it has a nap, it means that fabrics, that what you're gonna be cutting, the fabric needs to be facing the same direction. So you can't have all of your patterns that way they all match up. For something like a stretch, that might mean something that is only 2-way stretch, not 4-way stretch. So the pattern might just take that into consideration, and it's so much easier to just, hey, just get this much fabric. That's the gist of it. For something like a non-stretch costume, what that might mean is that you want to consider if it might have a pattern. Let me show you. Something like this type of fabric that clearly has a direction. It has like a different, you know, it's clearly that this is either top or bottom, you know, unless you prefer it this way. But basically what that means, if depending on the direction that you want to cut it, of course you want to follow the grain of the fabric, and basically that just says that way if you want all of your pieces to be facing one direction, so everything matches, instead of having, let's say, one piece this direction and then the other one's like this, you know, it's gonna look weird. So what that's telling you is just that has a nap. If it says something like here, with or without nap, that just means that it's taking into consideration that extra fabric, you know, to that you can cut it if it has it or not. It's just giving you the number. But the reason why that is important, because there might be a pattern that tells you this is the measurement if it doesn't have a nap. But let's say that you want to work with a fabric like this, so you need to then realize, oh, I need more than what this is telling me. That's why I feel like it's important for you to understand that little bit.
And that's also really good if you're using stuff that is like directional types of fabric, like fur or even sequins or things like that that have like a single direction. So just keep that in mind whenever you are taking a look at your materials and what you might be needing for either a non-stretch or a stretch type of costume when you are reading these little charts.
And that is a wrap for a first episode sort of redo remake, but I do hope that you find it helpful. And once again, thank you all so much for having joined us for 100 episodes. And as I mentioned before, I can't wait for you to see all the stuff that we have planned, not just for Crafting with Cosplay Fabrics, but the entirety of Cosplay Fabrics. Please make sure to follow us on all of our socials for all of the updates and everything, especially so you can see all of the new stuff that we have coming out. So thank you again so much, and I will see you soon for another tip, trick, or tutorial featuring Cosplay Fabrics. Bye bye.